Hello there, I'm Keo Steroni Beatmaker, and welcome to Lounge Ronin, all things, everything. And on this episode, we're going to discuss the Pharaohs can't profit during nuclear war. I know it's been a minute since the Ronin's been live streaming, but I hope everyone out there will and is doing positive, staying focused amongst all the chaos, and really to just focus on what you can control and stay positive amongst all the chaos. And while you're at it, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts below, and share the live stream. And also, please, feel free to give me any constructive criticism, as it would greatly help to improve the channel. Now, this has been on my mind for a very, very long time. And I would have discussions with friends and colleagues. You know, when Trump came into office, this is when I first kind of started saying this. When Trump came into office, people were like, oh, great. World War III is going to happen. This is going to happen. And back then, when I was inadvertently sipping some of the Kool-Aid, but I apologize for the noise, but I also was kind of self-aware. And I used to tell them back then, same thing as what is in the title of the live stream, and is that, the powers to be, the oligarchs, the corporations, the pharmaceutical companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, Bilderberg, Rockefeller, World Economic Forum, Deep State, the Uniparty, the establishment, you name it, you got it, the military industrial complex, all of that. They can't profit during nuclear war. And that's what I would always tell them in the end. I would say, it doesn't matter. They can't profit in nuclear war. And the reason why I say that is, the international military pharmaceutical industrial complex, they love their power, they love their profits, they love their control, they love their manipulation. And with such control, you need the plebs, the serfs, to maintain your status quo and to maintain your power and control through ritualistic manufacturing of consent. And you see it more prevalent now, more than ever, as they are beginning to lose control of the narrative as the veil continues to be lifted. And they're being found out. Because in many ways, they overplayed their hand. And they were too cocky. And the fact of the matter is, the people who put this control into play, they're the only ones that can always do it right. Why is it with every great conqueror, when their sons take the place, the whole kingdom system, it collapses, it falls upon itself, slowly over time, sometimes immediately? And that is what you are seeing and experiencing right now. It's just funny to me, some of the things that the World Economic Forum is prescribing and advocating for is a world that is more of a fantasy fever dream than anything else. Give me one quick moment, guys. Alrighty, I have returned. Apologies. So what I'm saying is, they cannot continue to maintain the control over us because in many ways, you know, as I was saying, these new cats who are in control, they're too caught up within themselves. That is why they continue to be found out. That is why they're pushing so many agendas. Like I was, it's just funny to me, right? With the World Economic Forum, how they're, talking about, this fourth industrial revolution and, taking people's consciousness and their minds and putting them in androids and making this, autonomous, hive mind slave hierarchy within this new world order that they wish to install. And at the same time, you have Biden and the Uniparty and the deep state and the military industrial complex advocating for nuclear war. And I just find it hilarious. Because how do they expect to how do they expect to maintain, their control over the world if it's nothing more than smoke and ash and glass? I find it hilarious, and that's why I continue to say, nuclear war is never going to happen because they can't profit, especially this whole fast track for the fourth industrial revolution, which honestly seems to be nothing more than a poop show. So ask yourself, like, why do they keep on pushing this narrative of nuclear war? And I was listening to, shout out to Sam Tripley and the Tinfoil Hat crew over there. I didn't get to finish the episode, but they had a guy on talking about the atom bomb and nuclear bombs, because Sam, he really questions whether or not that actually happened during World War II, which I find interesting. And what I have to say on that, to me, is whether or not it happened or not, it's the allure around nuclear war, the fantasy around it, the profitability around nuclear war. And what I mean by that is it's really convenient how they are clearly making money off of the fear of nuclear war. And it's even, one thing that was funny about when I was listening to Tinfoil Hat, and they were talking about the video footage from the testing in the 1950s and the 1940s, I believe, but mostly the 1950s. And they were like, how is it that the cameras are perfectly still and capturing this footage, but everything else around them is getting vaporized and destroyed. So they bring up some very interesting things, and I'm like, hey, you make a good point. Even when I was younger, I used to question that, but I didn't think too further into the questioning of it. I was just like, okay. Um, but regardless of that, the point that I'm trying to make is that this whole idea of nuclear war is there's nothing more than a psyop, in my opinion. Um, it only takes 14 nuclear missiles to completely eradicate all life on the planet. That's it. Only 14, if I remember correctly. So, you have to ask yourself, why is it that Russia has enough nuclear warheads to destroy the planet, 100 times, and the U.S. only has the amount to destroy it 50 times. It's like, okay, but it only takes 14 to completely eradicate all life on the planet. But these countries who are nuclear powers have like 100 to 1,500 nuclear bombs. Like, ask it, like, really think about that. Really ask yourself, what does that even mean? And that's what I find so funny about this. You have the doomsday clock. It keeps on, it's moving closer and closer. It's like saying we're like 1 minute away from nuclear war. And, I'm over here thinking to myself, like, how long have they been saying nuclear war? And is it like trying to manifest the consent to want to go to nuclear war? Because if that's the case, it doesn't really seem to be working. Because everybody else is like, yeah, no, I'm good. And this is where I'm like, okay, if they're really gonna try to pursue this idea of nuclear war and to convince the masses that nuclear war is something that we could win, it's where is this mentality coming from? And how are they going to continue to profit off of the masses? To continue to profit off of the propaganda and the manipulation? I find it a little hard to believe and grasp that they are somehow going to wipe out a majority of the population, and and wildlife and fertile ground in the guys for what? What do they gain? Because this is what I'm talking about. This is why I feel like it's all just a big game. Because and a psyop, like you have like the World Economic Forum and all of these these oligarch elitists planning the next revolution in our world and talking about the Great Reset and all of this stuff. But then at the same time, you have other people advocating for nuclear war. And you don't hear the people who are trying to move us into this new fourth industrial. You don't hear them being like, hey guys, nuclear war is not a good idea. We shouldn't be doing that. They're still just talking like, hey, we still have our plans in motion. We're doing this. They're talking about pulling off like a large, massive, cyber attack that could shut down, entire systems. And then that's how they'll install their Great Reset. So they don't seem too concerned about nuclear war. So if they're not too concerned about nuclear war, and they're talking as if business is going and flowing, then why should we, the masses, necessarily be concerned about nuclear war? Because to me, it looks like that doesn't seem to be the case. This doesn't seem to be what's going to happen. But hey, I could be wrong. And that's the case, hey, well, this was Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. I'll see you in the next stage of our spiritual journey. But I mean, that's why you hear all these people freaking out talking about it, and I'm over here like it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen because they're not gonna be able to profit. They're not gonna be able to control anyone if there's no one to control. You have, what is it, Saudi Arabia or the United Emirates? They're building the line. They're building this massive ecological city in the middle of the desert. Like, you have all these things that are being set in motion, and they don't seem to be concerned about nuclear war. And that's all I'm trying to bring up and kind of throw out the question, like, how they, this is why I say, they think they're pharaohs. They it's almost as if they think like no matter how much money they accumulate and how much power and control, it's as if they're going to take it with them into the next life. And unless you are someone who is adheres to the whole idea of reincarnation, and they'll be reincarnated into a new younger body and continue the cycle. I mean, that's possible. But I'm still over here trying to understand how any of this makes any sense. This idea of nuclear war, when they continue to want to profit off of the poor and the weak and the destitute. But nuclear war is also on the table. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm finding it really hard to believe. I mean, and just kind of look around you. Everything that they seem to be doing and advocating for. It's just it's like that movie Wag the Dog, and I feel like that's what we're kind of looking at, especially when it comes to this whole idea of nuclear war. Because it's not. No one profits, no one gains anything from a nuclear war, especially the powers to be. So for us to be concerned about nuclear war when you have certain groups out there, these elitist oligarchies and corporations who don't seem to be concerned about it one bit, it just makes me question the whole narrative. It really does. Now, we can't, you can't really say much about Russia because they're not really in control by these elitists and groups. They're kind of an outlier, just like China. Yet they want the Chinese system in Western society, and it's already happening in many different Western countries. But what I'm saying is, it's like they have all these plans to control us, to depopulate us, and then use what's left as slave labor, and that's controlled and put into this transhumanistic agenda. And it's like, all right, well, if that's the plan, you're gonna kind of need fertile soil and breathable air in order to make this a reality. And it's not going to be a reality if you nuke the entire planet. And that's all I'm saying. And I don't hear anyone else talking about it or mentioning this because I don't know. Maybe no one sees it because everyone's caught up with the idea that it's gonna happen. And honestly, I've felt like this for such a long time that I really don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. And part of the reason why is because both sides know that you're not gonna make any money, you're not gonna make any profits, nothing. You're not gonna be able to control people. You're not gonna be able to manipulate the masses. You're not gonna be able to follow through with your agenda. Like Agenda 2030. Okay, well, one's just if. You have this plans for Agenda 2030, but they're talking about nuclear war happening within the next 6 months. Please enlighten me. how, the Bilderberg and all those groups are still, having their conventions and their little circle jerk meetings, planning out the next moves. Yet, we got everyone else talking about nuclear war and like wanting to have it. I just don't buy it. I really don't. I really think it's just a big charade. I don't think nuclear war is going to happen in any regard. World War III, I mean, that's a possibility, but nuclear war? No, I don't. Why do they want World War III so badly? So they can make money. So they can make money, and so they can also whip out their new toys. A lot of, there is a very unique and interesting correlation between the advancements in this timeline of technology and war. Whether it's World War One and coffee enemas, whether it's World War Two with and even with World War One, the machine gun, chemical warfare, and whether it's sonar, all these different things, blood transfusions. Wait, was it blood transfusions? I can't remember what it was, but like, I mean, think of all these different technologies that stemmed from war, and some of these technologies were technologies that helped improve life and saved lives, and also technologies that was able to be transferred over to public and civilian use. And that's where I'm coming from. And that's the only reason why they would have World War III as opposed to nuclear war. Because at least in World War III, then they can whip out their new technologies. They can use it as a form of advancement into their agenda and their manipulation of the masses in society. And another way to also aid in their depopulation plan. But all I'm saying is, it's all smoke and mirrors. Unfortunately, within the smoke and mirrors, there is going to be blood and there is going to be sadness and death, and that is part of what these people. It's part of their MO. It's part of how their rituals, their practices, their way of life. If you really want to get a real understanding about how crazy some of this manufacturing of consent through rituals, I highly recommend you watch the 2014 or 2015 anime series, Full Metal Alchemist, because it does a really good job of explaining the ritualistic manufacturing of consent that can go on, and the propaganda and manipulation that can be used to fuel a war that's actually has a different agenda in mind. And I don't want to spoil anything for it because the lead up and the plot twists are really interesting. And maybe another time I might rewatch it and do a little talk about it and breakdown. But regardless of what I'm saying, I just feel that is something that we need to think about and keep in mind. They are talking about nuclear war as if it's this boogeyman, and they've been talking about this boogeyman forever. And even back in the 80s or the 90s, when it was close to nuclear war, it didn't happen. Why? Why is it that when it gets close to the guise of nuclear war, these new changes and movements become apparent? We kind of have to ask ourselves that. And these pharaohs, they truly think that they are the pinnacle of society, and with that comes responsibility of the planet. That's why you also hear them talking about climate change and, these 15-minute cities and what have you. That's part of the reason why you have the line that's being built in the Middle East, this crazy, city utopia. You have to, it really paints a picture, because you can't have any of those kind of things if you got, nuclear fallout just, swaying across the country, across the countryside, across the oceans. It's all right there in front of us. We just kind of have to like take a second and think about it. Like, really, is that really going to happen? Is this really going to be the case? And I really don't believe that that's going to happen. I really think it's all just a psyop, a manipulation, a way to goad us into the consent for war, the consent for more stripping away of our freedoms, of our individual rights, of our individuality, of our of our ability to think for ourselves. And I think that's kind of where it really is going. And for the regular people who have completely drinking the Kool-Aid and are like, yep, this is it. We need war to stop nuclear war. Just think about that. It gives them exactly what they want. Now these pharaohs and puppets, they know that they need the planet. They know that they need humans. Some of these are definitely reptilians. I ain't even gonna front. But they need us. As much as they despise us and hate us, they can't eradicate all of us, because they need a certain amount of the population to continue to dig the holes, find the treasure, make the food, the entertainment. Well, you think these pharaohs are just gonna sit around in silence and enjoy nature and reflect? No, they need entertainment. They need war. They need violence. They need subjugation. And you're gonna continue to get that. It's just funny to me. People really think nuclear war is going to happen, and I'm over here like, man, I'm too concerned focusing on improving my life. Navigating the controlled demolition of Western society and culture and economy. Take it as you want, but if they're so concerned about control and manipulation, they're not even looking at world nuclear war. They see it as nothing more than just a distraction, a game to play, to just continue to break away at the individual and to break your strength within yourself, to then conform into the hive mind, to allow the parasite to win and to infect. And that is what you're seeing all around us. But we as individuals, we have to be self-aware of this, and we have to call it out, and we have to stand up to it. Nobody wants nuclear war. Nobody wants World War III. All people want is financial stability, financial security, positive affirmations that improve their well-being mentally, physically, emotionally. That's what everybody wants. The pharaohs can't profit in nuclear war. And we can stand to rise and call them out on it. And improve our lives by becoming individuals within a community of like-minded creed and morals and ethics. And we can do great things. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Ronin. all things, everything. Please leave a comment with your thoughts below if you're catching the replay. Make sure to hit the like button and share the live stream if you really enjoy my thoughts and perspectives. And if you're new and you've made it this far, please hit that subscribe button and let me know. I really appreciate it. Until then, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.